Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, especially for this month of 31 days until Halloween. Just in case if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Hannah, and I'm gonna be reading for sure one, if not more, stories, and it's about black-eyed children, and let's just get right into it. This one is called Halloween. This is so funny. I never heard of black-eyed kids before my incident. So I came on here to post my story, and the first story I see was about black-eyed kid. Weird. Let me preface by saying I'm by no means a writer, just a Dominic energy ear living in North Texas. Also, I don't believe in the paranormal, ghosts, demons, aliens, whatever. However, I did have an event happen to me this Halloween. I have to admit, has me scratching my head. This is my first post on Reddit, and sorry to say, I never even heard about it until yesterday. I told my best friend about my incident, and she avid reader of No Sleep, and she told me if I didn't post it, she would. So here I am. Anyways, hope you like it. So it had been a slow trick-or-treat night in our neighborhood that evening, which is pretty odd itself. We usually have kids from different areas drop off in ours and have a constant parade at our door. That night, I'd say we have no more than 8 or 10 groups of kids come by the entire night. It was about 9:30 p.m. and my husband and I were sitting in our family room watching some of these ghost shows based on supposedly actual events. Like I said, I don't believe in that stuff, but I do like a good ghost story now and then, and it is Halloween after all. We hadn't had any activity at the door in over a half an hour, and it was getting late, so we decided to turn the porch light off and let our dog Chloe out of her crate. Chloe is an American bulldog and is very docile. We only put her in her crate because we were afraid she'd try and get out to play with all the kids, and I didn't want to have to chase her down the street. Also, we didn't want her to scare any of the kids because she would look a little intimidating for the younger kids. So I turned the outside light off, let Chloe out, and she followed me back to the couch and laid down at my feet. It was getting close to 10 p.m. when my husband decided he had enough fun for the night and was going to go upstairs to take a shower and get ready for bed. After all, it was a Thursday night, and he had to get up early the next day. My teenage son was going out with his friends at a local haunted house and wasn't expecting him back for another hour or so. So that left me alone on the couch with Chloe. Now, just because I don't believe doesn't mean those shows didn't freak me out a little bit. And being alone, watching, have to say I was kind of on edge, as it were. It wasn't long after I heard the upstairs water of the shower turned on when there came a knock, knock, knock at the front door. My intentional reaction was, "What the beep? Really? It's almost it's almost 10. Go home." But soon uneasy feeling came over me. Why the knock? Our doorbell glows, and in the dark and without the porch light would be an extra obvious to anyone there. I paused. I couldn't really just ignore it. Our front door had a big be real glass panel, and anybody in the right at the door could see in enough to see someone was in the living room, family room, watching TV. It would be pretty rude of me to just sit there and not answer it. Knock, knock, knock again from the door. I glanced down at Chloe. She was gone. My gaze followed her usual path to the door, unexpecting her to be on her way there as usual. She usually does. Nothing. She wasn't there. I stood up to look around the room better and found her crouching back by the back door like she's wanting to go out. However, she never asked to go out like that. She always comes and licks my hand or puts her head on my knee. This usually this was usually out of character for her, and I have to say hided my anxiety. "Chloe, great," I said. She turned back and looked at me like, "Heck no, lady, ain't moving." I yelled to my husband, but if he was already in the shower, I knew there was no chance of him hearing the knock, knock, knock. About that time, a car drove down our street and cast just enough light. Sorry about that. It was out of storage a little bit. Made a little extra room, so I'm gonna just kind of reread a little bit and then start reading forward. So, about that time, a car drove down our street and cast enough light on the door to where I could see the silhouettes of two small children through the glass. I instantly felt relief. It was just some kids, probably a couple of my neighbors on their way back home, and wanted to stop by and show me their costumes or something. I headed to the door and looked back to make sure Chloe wasn't going to follow. What a great dog watch, I thought to myself as she sat there. I turned on the porch light when I got to the door, and sure enough, I could see through the glass it was a couple pretty small kids. A little late for such young ones, I thought, and began to wonder about what kind of parents will let their kids run on the streets late at night. I only opened the door enough where I could block Chloe's escape if she decided to grow some balls, which was only about 2 feet. What struck me right away was kids weren't wearing any costumes. They were in normal street clothes. No customary trick or treat either. I began to feel very uneasy again. It was a girl and a boy. The girl to my left was older. I would say about 12, 11 or 12. I could tell she was blonde, but I couldn't make out this distinct features as our lights from our high above and on columns at the front of the porch. So most of the light was coming from behind them. I had not opened the door wide enough for the light from inside to hit them directly. The boy was younger, was about a foot shorter, I would say 8 or 9, and looked like had light brown hair. The girl very politely spoke, "Ma'am, can we please come inside your home and use your phone to call our mom?" As she spoke, something like a pit out of my stomach was telling me something was wrong. What kid, even at that age, doesn't have a cell phone to call to use nowadays? I couldn't remember the last time I had anybody to ask to use my phone. Hun, don't you have a phone to call your mom on?" I asked. This was something really got weird. Both kids turned to look at one another like they were going to say something to one another, but neither of them spoke. They both turned back to me. The girl says, "Ma'am, my cell phone battery doesn't have any charge left. Can we please come inside your home and call our mother? We're both scared. We're both out here and my brother is scared." I have to admit that there were both two competing feelings going inside me. The first, that the mother of a heart that wanted to help these two small children to get their mother. The other, a sinking fear in my gut was keeping the other feeling at bay. It was then I noticed that during a short conversation, I already opened the door a few extra inches, which I was completely unaware of doing. I stopped. "Honey, why don't you give me your mom's number and I can call her myself?" Another pause, and they looked again at one another. After a short moment, they turned back to me and said, "Ma'am, my little brother has to use the bathroom. Can we please come in and call while you call our mom?" And with that last statement, the little girl moved closer towards the door like she was going to walk on in by me. As she did, she stepped into the light coming from inside the house, and I got my first real look at her. Solid jet black eyes. That's all I could see. That motherly instincts was gone and replaced by terror. I didn't think I've ever felt in my life. I could feel every hair on my arms and back and of my neck standing at attention. I closed the door where I could just see my face was able to stick out. The little girl stopped again, please, ma'am, we are really scared and alone out here. We have to come inside. Please help us." Then, like a coo, both kids began to whimper and cry. That's when the fear took over and I shut and locked the door. "I'll call your mom if you give me her number," I shouted through the door, "but I'm not letting you in my house." I could still see them stand there on my porch just staring at me through the believed glass pane. Part of me wanted to run upstairs to my husband, but the bitter part, I didn't want to lose track of where they were. That would have freaked me out even more, not not to know where they were. After that, what I seen, like forever, but probably only a few seconds, I decided I'd call my neighbor that lives across the street. As I made my way to the side of the table by our couch to my phone, I glanced at the back door. Chloe was nowhere to be found. We later found her in the guest room under the bed. When I got to my phone and started to look for his contents in full, it was only then the kids stepped away from the door and began to walk to the streets. As they did, I walked to the door to get a better look to see where they went, still not calling my neighbor. If you get close enough to the glass, you can see out enough to make out people's shapes, but you can't see much detail. Of course, standing that close up to the door would make it you pretty obvious anyone was looking outside looking in. From the door, I could see the kids were still standing under the street lamp nearest to my house, staring at me. As I lifted the phone to see my ear after calling, only then did the kids started walking down our streets. I met my neighbor out under the lamp once he was out there, but the kids were nowhere to be seen. Like I said, I don't believe in this kind of stuff and had never seen, even heard of the black eye kids before talking to my friend. What I really think and what I have to think is these kids were just out yanking people's chains on Halloween night. But I will say this for them, they were good, really good at it. They scare the S out of me and my dog. I'm just gonna end the vlog here. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that story. I would read a couple more, but my phone keeps having out of storage things popping up. So I'm gonna end the vlog video here. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by liking, subscribing, etc. And I hope to see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.